All right, welcome everybody out there in Facebook land and in Zoom land. Today is Friday, October 2nd, and we are here today to talk about creating and maintaining a positive culture. So I'm so happy that you are all with me. Let me get my chat screen right back up here. Hello.
Hello.
All right, so for those of you that this might be your first time doing one of our director or teacher workshops virtually, I'll kind of go over how this is going to go today. The assumption is that you're actually in the classroom with me, so we actually have some people in the classroom with me today. That's exciting. But for those of you that are on virtually, I ask that you make that assumption that you're actually in the classroom, meaning that your full attention is on the material that we're covering today, and the opportunity to learn and the opportunity to interact, rather than doing other jobs and doing other assignments while you're watching the webinar. And you can definitely participate today. Those of you that are on Zoom, you can type in your questions or comments in the chat screen. Those of you that are on Facebook Live, you can type in questions or comments on Facebook Live. It's kind of really small for me, so if y'all keep seeing me lean forward, it's because I'm trying to read comments that are being made on the iPad over here. And of course, people that are here in person, you can make comments or ask questions as we go through the material. Now, those of you that have not participated in a blended course yet, because I do have people in person and virtually, if someone that is in the classroom with me asks a question or they make a comment, I will repeat it so that the people that are on Zoom or Facebook Live can hear the question, and be part of that conversation right there. So yeah, we got lots of people popping in on Facebook. Fantastic. All right, so we are here once again to talk about maintaining and creating a positive culture, all right? And we're going to talk today about 8 different characteristics of creating and maintaining positive culture. We're going to talk about Gary Chapman's 5 languages of love today, and we're going to incorporate that into our 8 characteristics as well. But, for those of you that are joining us today and that are hopping on right here, there are no worksheets or handouts for today's presentation. So you're going to take notes on what is important to you, all right? But I am going to ask for you to write a couple of things down from time to time. I'm moving my screen, and that just went down, and I knew that was going to happen, but there we go. All right, no, I'm good. All right, but I'm going to ask you to write some things down and answer some questions as we go through some of the material today. So be ready for that, to kind of write some things down. First off, I want you to write down, what makes up your team. All right, I want you to think about your school family, your teachers that you work with, your parents that you serve, the community that you're involved in. But what makes up your team? Obviously, all of those people that I just described right there, that makes up your team, all right? But I want you to, if you could comment in your chat screen, and Angela that's here in person, if you want to comment, you can. But what tears your culture apart, all right? What tears your team apart? If y'all want to type something in your chat screen, but what is something that you feel tears your culture, your team apart?
Gossip.
Gossiping, we got a comment on gossiping right off the bat right there. So I'm trying to look on the Facebook Live. Attitude, I've got on negative attitudes on Zoom right there. Discord between staff members, absolutely. Gossiping, once again, I'm seeing on Facebook Live. Yeah, and we're going to talk about all of these items today. So everything that you're bringing up, drama, Becky says on Zoom. Y'all don't have drama, do you? What? I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. But we'll talk about all of those items as we go through today. I had everything set up so perfect today, and then all right here at the beginning, it says everything is falling apart. And as a leader, type into your chat screen, what are your struggles? What is preventing you from creating and maintaining that positive culture in your program? So what is it that you need as a leader, all right, to create and maintain culture? So let's see what y'all got right there.
Patience.
Patience, absolutely, especially right now. I've got call-ins that are coming in. Making everyone happy without playing favorites. Oh, very, very good comment, Jennifer, right there. I agree with you on that one. Staff that feel like they should have better benefits, and that may not mean, paid time off and vacation, but just benefits within the program right there. All right. Different ideas from management I see here on Facebook. Oh, that's what today is all about.
Right.
That's what today is all about, is getting everybody on the same page. So if I gave out gold stars, I would give a gold star out for that response, because that was a perfect lead-in to our material today. All right. Being a mentor, I see popping up on Facebook right there. Competition, yeah. And just getting everybody to work together. So perfect. We are all on the same page on what we're going to be doing. So, like I said, we're going to go through 8 characteristics of building a positive culture. You're supposed to have friends here. You're not.
Yeah. My friends.
We've got some other people coming. They just must be running behind. All right. So, the first thing. Oh, and I apologize. I just jumped right on in to my material. But again, those of you that this is your first time joining us virtually, the way this kind of works is that I go through my training material. We have our conversations. At the end of today's course, there's going to be a worksheet that will be posted on Facebook and on Zoom. You're going to click on the link to complete your online worksheet, and then a certificate of completion will be emailed to you, and there is a $15 fee for you to receive that certificate of completion. So I know we got a lot of new people that are joining us for the very first time. Welcome, but that's kind of how this works right here. All right? So the first characteristic of creating and maintaining a positive culture is to create your culture. Now, the thing that I like to remind people about culture is that culture is defined up at the top, but it is lived from the bottom up. All right? So typically, your administrators, your management define culture and vision, your philosophy. All right? Typically, your leadership will define that. But we expect our staff to live it, all right? But you can't live what you don't believe in, all right? And sometimes we do get frustrated with that because we want our staff to live and breathe our culture, our vision, our beliefs. But if they don't believe in it themselves, they can't do that, all right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is trying to get everybody on board right there. Everyone in your facility creates your culture, all right? So like I mentioned earlier, it's not just your staff, but it's also the families that you serve, the children, the parents, the grandparents, all right? And even going into the community. We're going to talk a little bit today about the transfer of belief, and especially right now, 2020, all right, where your culture is lived through social media these days. Absolutely, yeah. Your culture is lived through social media. And our goal is to fill our business with people that believe in the same thing that we believe in, and then they go out into the community and they spread it. All right? So that is the goal right there. I promise today's not going to be a COVID conversation. I think I say that in every workshop, that, this is not going to be a COVID workshop. But it's the reality, and it's the world we live in right now. All right? But especially right now, these days, You know, the way that you're enhancing your health practices, the way you're keeping the children and the staff healthy, and the way you're communicating that is being spread through social media. All right. Also, when we talk about enrollment building, and we did a workshop just a few weeks ago on, you know, building enrollment during the pandemic. If y'all missed that, you can go back to some of our past videos and watch it. But you know, we're having to be very creative on how we're building enrollment. We're doing virtual tours. We're doing tours with our FaceTime on our phone, or we're doing videos of our program that we're putting out there on social media. But it's a whole new world. Instead of having that face-to-face connection, you know, we're having to do things a little bit different. So when we talk about your culture is spread through social media, that is huge.
Yeah.
Very, very huge. All right. So you want to engage and encourage everyone on your team, your administrators, your teachers, your parents. Everyone is involved in that culture. All right. So when we're putting together a plan today, and that's my goal, is for us to put together a plan on creating and maintaining a positive culture. If you want to make yourself a little chart, all right, and put 3 different columns on there, all right, administrators, teachers, parents, all right, and then what is each group going to do to build and maintain your positive culture? Everyone has to be involved, though. That's the biggest thing. Everyone has to be involved. Now, the first thing you've got to do is define your culture. What does your school stand for? What does your school believe in? When I do marketing classes, we talk about unique selling points. So what are your unique selling points? What makes your school different than other schools in the community? All right? And I know we could probably sit here and make all kinds of comments on Facebook and on Zoom about how your school is different. But that's the first thing you've got to do, is define what is your vision, what are your beliefs. And I'm sure that everyone out there, everyone that's participating in today's workshop, you've got a philosophy statement. You've got a mission statement. How many of you, pop quiz, how many of you could recite your philosophy statement or your mission statement right now? All right, y'all remember back in high school when the professor or the teacher would call you up to the front of the class and make you recite, you know, whatever it was, the Gettysburg Address or poetry or whatever, and they put you on the spot and you had to be able to recite that? So how many of you, if I called you up right now, you could spit out your philosophy statement, your mission statement, your beliefs and your values? Okay, anyone want to answer right there? Anyone? Can you do it? Can you do it? No? All right. Well, how do you expect to transfer that belief if you don't know it yourself? All right. So, you know, that's a little homework assignment for you, is you need to go back and you need to take a look at that. And does your philosophy, your mission statement, does it reflect the current situation? All right. So, because things change and our values and our beliefs change. You know, right now, of course, keeping children safe, keeping children, you know, their cognitive learning in place, all of that is very important. But if your philosophy and mission statement doesn't say something about maintaining a healthy environment, you're behind. Yeah. All right? So it might mean that we need to tweak a little bit of this. All right? We might need to tweak a little bit of it. And that's okay. You can always do that. All right? But you got to know it to believe in it. You got to believe in it to transfer it. All right? So once you know it, you believe it, you've got it. Okay? Now you've got to transfer that belief. You've got to make sure that all of your employees know. Okay? Your parents know what you're all about. And this is a conversation that you're going to have over and over and over again. You're going to be constantly talking about your philosophy, your vision, your mission, all right, to the point that it's going to be annoying, okay? Your employees and your parents are going to be annoyed by how much you talk about this, But that's how you transfer it. That's what you've got to do right there. All right? Let everyone know. This starts in the interview process. Okay? So when you're interviewing new staff, all right, are you talking about your philosophy, your mission, and your beliefs and values? You need to be talking about this in the interview. And you want to make sure that you're hiring people that believe in the same thing as you. If you hire a new employee that has completely opposite beliefs and values, they're not going to be able to live that culture. All right? Now, you got to be careful with this because people nowadays are smart. And before they come to the job interview, they're really good at going onto your website, going onto your Facebook page, reading about your mission, all right, reading your philosophy statement, and then when they come in for the interview, they put on a dog and pony show, and they basically recite what you've got up on the website, all right? So what are you going to do during the interview process to make sure this person isn't just putting on a dog and pony show, that they really do believe in the same thing as you? Okay? So that's going to take practice right there. But lots and lots of questions about the job description, the expectations, lots of questions about your philosophy and your vision. Okay? Put them on the spot so that you know that they're not just putting on a dog and pony show. Okay? When we asked the question earlier about what's keeping us from living that mission, all right, from living that culture that we want to define in our program, a lot of times it's the obstacles that we have in our programs, the challenges that we have in our programs. And y'all mentioned a lot of challenges just a bit ago. The drama, the gossiping, the inconsistency, the failure to meet expectations. All right. So as a leader of your program, having to make some of these difficult decisions can be very, very hard. All right. And that's where we struggle sometimes. When we talk about creating and maintaining a positive culture, all right, your goal right here is to transfer that belief, all right, and to make those difficult decisions. Now, once you define what you're all about, you can define what you stand for, what are your beliefs and your values, then those decisions become very easy. All right? Once you define who you are, it makes it a lot easier to make these decisions. Now, let's talk about that. Because we've been talking about what does your school stand for? What are the beliefs and the values of your school? We need to back it up just a little bit because we need to start with you. All right? What do you believe in? What's your vision for yourself? Not just for your school, but what is your vision for yourself? And you've got to define that first. Okay? Does your beliefs and values match the beliefs and the values of the school that you work for? Hopefully so, because again, if you don't believe it, you can't transfer it. All right? You know, one of my favorite quotes, and I just used this last week in a workshop that I did for early learning leaders. All right, when you lead with integrity, you may not always win, but at least you know you've done the right thing. All right? When you can define your own personal integrity, all of these decisions become super easy. All right? So, to sum all of that up, to build great culture, you have to build it, you have to live it, you have to value it, you have to reinforce it, and you have to fight for it. All right? Would y'all agree that we've been fighting hard for the last 7 months?
Yes.
We have been fighting so hard for the last 7 months, and all of these different regulatory agencies and the different rules that have been coming out and the recommendations that have been coming out, our integrity has been challenged over and over again for the last 7 months. Even parents that are questioning some of the decisions that you're making. All right? Our integrity has really been put on the line. But I have to say, I'm very proud of all of you because I think we've done a fantastic job. All right, we have really, really shown this world what early education is all about. All right, yeah, we've got some comments on Facebook. We have been fighting hard, right? Yes, but that's what culture is all about. Okay, so again, to build a great culture, you have to build it, live it, value it, reinforce it, and fight for it. And fight the good fight. All right, fight the good fight. So, write this down right here. Habits create the future. All right, habits create the future. Tomorrow, for those of you that are not doing anything on a Saturday morning, I'm going to be doing a teacher workshop, and tomorrow's teacher workshop is supporting children with signs and symptoms of a special need. And I actually put this course, creating and building and maintaining a positive culture, back to back with supporting children with special needs on purpose. All right, I don't know if you'll ever notice that, but usually my Friday director's course has something in common with the Saturday course. I do that on purpose. Tomorrow with our teachers, we're going to talk a lot about predictability. Okay, the predictability, and children, especially children with signs and symptoms of a special need, must have predictability. When we talk about building and maintaining a positive culture, it's no different. Yeah. Your culture has to have predictability. All right? So, yeah. And so that's where, these habits, this predictability creates the future right there. All right? Now, not only must positive culture have predictability, but everyone in your program has to be in sync. So I want y'all to evaluate right now, is your current staff in sync with each other?
Most of them.
You think most of them? Yeah. So what are we going to do about the ones that aren't? Okay. Most of them is a good answer, but what about the rest? And what are we going to do to get them in sync? And again, talking about the pandemic and the world that we have lived in for the last 7 months, all right, it has been incredibly important that we have been in sync. All right, that everyone is being consistent with our health practices, consistent with our communication, all right, consistent with the kids, because our poor kids, it's been so scary for them, all right, so scary for them. And we're not just talking words right here, okay? When we're talking about building and maintaining a positive culture, it's not about words, but it's about actions, all right? It's about action. So you can't just say it, you can't just write it down, you gotta do it, okay? You gotta do it. Last week when we had our national conference last week for the Association for Early Learning Leaders, and of course it was virtual, our very first virtual national conference. It was an experience, that's all I got to say. It was an experience. But we talked a lot last week about strategic planning, and especially right now, all right, that it is so incredibly important to have a strategic plan for your business. But strategic planning is all about looking into the future, 3 to 5 years, and where do you want your business to be in 3 to 5 years, and how are we going to get there? What do we need to get there? And what plan are we going to put in place to get to those goals? Well, it's so difficult to put a strategic plan in place right now because we don't even know what tomorrow is going to look like, especially with the news that came out this morning. All right, who knows what tomorrow is going to look like? All right, I have a feeling things are about to go crazy again for multiple different reasons. All right, so we all have to be in sync. We have to have that action plan. But even though we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, we still need to work on a strategic plan. Let's start small though, okay? Your strategic plan right now, let's just make it till the end of the year. All right? Let's just put a plan in place to make it till the end of the year. All right, and then we can work on 2021 after that. All right. When we build and maintain a positive culture, and when we live it, when we're in sync, when we can define it, when we fight for it, when we value it, all right, that is a driving force for a culture that is tough. That is a driving force for a culture that can withstand adversity, that can get through these obstacles and these challenges. And when you build and maintain a positive culture and everyone is in sync and everyone believes in the same thing, then these challenges and these obstacles become opportunities. All right? When you have adversity in your program, that is an opportunity for you to lead. All right? So don't get frustrated with these challenges. These are opportunities for you to lead. All right? There you go. Now, we're going to talk a lot today about distractions. All right? Both internal and external distractions, because we all have distractions. And there's three things that will destroy culture: busyness, stress, and distractions. Busyness, stress, and distractions is what destroys culture. All right? Now, we work in early education, we work in after-school programs. Are we going to have distractions? Absolutely. All right? It's going to happen. It's called every day. All right? Every hour. But the distractions that destroy your culture, you don't want those to be internal. All right? The things that we talked about at the beginning of the day, the gossiping, the drama, all right, the inability to support one another. Those are all internal distractions. All right? And that can destroy your program. So if y'all want to write that down again, we've already kind of made a little bit of a list, but what are some of your internal distractions? Because you need to identify them first. So everything that we wrote down earlier, the drama, the gossiping, all right, you're going to put that down, but then turn it into an opportunity. All right, how am I going to take that gossiping and turn it into an opportunity to lead? All right, how am I going to take that drama and turn it into an opportunity to lead? And that's what you've got to do right there. And it starts with, I got a really big pinwheel. We're going to stop, take a deep breath, and relax. So smell the flower and blow the pinwheel. This is what I call my director's self-regulation breathing tool. All right. So in the classroom, you know, we make little bitty ones like here for the classrooms, but this is what the director needs right here. All right. Thank you, Miss Leslie. I saw that you're out there watching. Thank you, Miss Leslie, for making this for me. And then she stuck it behind my desk for me today. So, which is exactly what I needed right there. That's pretty funny. All right, let's move along right here into our second characteristic needed to build and maintain a positive culture. And that is that the leader of the organization has to be positively contagious. Y'all hear me talk about this a lot in several of my workshops. We talk about the leader being positively contagious, all right? That you've got to be a big dose of vitamin C instead of a germ, all right? So there's a book called Soup. It's an older book out there, but one of the quotes that comes from the book Soup is that the one that stirs the pot leads the team. All right? So the one that stirs the pot leads the team. So if you're allowing your employees to stir the pot, you're allowing them to be the leader. Okay? So you have to be that big dose of vitamin C instead of the germ. You can't be the one stirring the pot, all right? You've got to be the one that is creating opportunities, that's creating consistency, and being positive. And even during adversity, okay, being that big dose of vitamin C. This takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Yes.
All right? Being positive is not easy. It's hard. All right? It's very, very hard. All right? But again, you're going to do this by creating and sharing that powerful vision, that powerful mission, that purpose with your team. You want to be contagious with optimism and positivity. All right? And man, the world needs us to be optimistic right now. So bad. It is so needed that we are optimistic. And we're going to get through this, everybody. We're going to get through this. Every day seems like we're making a little bit of progress. A little bit of progress. All right? And that's okay. As long as you feel like you're making a little bit of progress and not a step backwards, we're in good shape. All right? I keep referring back to our national conference that we had last week, but there was so much good information that was shared, and it was a wonderful experience, even though it was virtual. But many of y'all might be familiar with Kathy Ligon. Kathy Ligon is a broker and a financial specialist in the childcare industry. She's been doing this for a very, very long time. And she's kind of the expert in our field when it comes to forecasting and planning for the future and being able to predict what the business is going to look like, what the industry is going to look like, in 3, 5, 7 years. Kathy did a session for us last week at our national conference, and it was very, very encouraging to hear Kathy say that she does believe that within 6 to 9 months, we're going to be in a better position than we were in February of 2020. All right? Assuming we don't have another big setback, assuming we don't have another shelter in place, all right, another big outbreak, but if we can just maintain the current situation or at least get better, all right, she's forecasting that in 6 to 9 months, the early childhood after-school industry is actually going to be doing better than we were prior to the pandemic. And that made me feel really good, hearing Kathy say that, because I've known her for about 20 years and I trust her very much so, all right? So that's a lot, that's optimism right there. All right, and when you do believe it, and you've got that optimism, and you're positive about the future, it makes everyday leadership easier. But if you're constantly walking on eggshells, you're constantly worried, all right, about what tomorrow is going to look like, you can't lead when you're walking on eggshells. You can't lead, all right, when you're just worried, are we going to make it? Are we going to be open next month? Do we have the money to make payroll? All right? You can't lead when you're doing that, and you definitely can't maintain a positive culture. All right? So, I'm probably going to plan a workshop on strategic planning because I think it's so important, especially right now. And what the strategic planning, what that looks like, because it's very, very detailed. It's very, it's a lot of work, but it's something that needs to be done. But like I said, right now it's very different because we're just trying to make it till the end of the year. All right. Now, those of you that have been coming to my workshops for a long time prior to the pandemic, we've talked a lot about fiscal fitness and making sure that you have money set aside, so that when you have a significant event, you've got the funds to make it through it. All right? Now is not the time for me to say, I told you so. All right? But people that had prepared for a significant event was able to make it through this pandemic a lot easier and a lot less stressed than people that didn't plan for it. Now, there's no way anyone could have planned for what we've gone through over the last 7 months. We planned for significant events like a kid getting their finger cut off or a teacher getting falsely accused of something. Those were the things that we planned for. No one could have planned for this pandemic, all right? But when you've got a plan in place, you can maintain a positive culture because you're not walking on eggshells. I bet everyone that's out there has learned their lesson, and moving forward, we're going to have a plan.
Yes.
All right, absolutely right there. All right, so leadership again is that transfer of belief and that transfer of attitude right there. Your goal is to have as many positively contagious individuals on your team as possible. All right, so I kind of want y'all to make a very discreet list. All right, make a very discreet list that is for your eyes only. Which members of your team are positively contagious and which ones aren't. All right, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about folks that are on your team right now. All right, and y'all know the ones that just being in their presence makes you smile.
Yeah.
All right. And then you have the ones that when you see them walking down the hallway, you're ready to slap them in the face. Okay? Y'all identifying these people right now? You thinking about them? All right. Now I want you to think about their classrooms. What is their classroom management like? What are the attitudes of the children? Do you got happy kids, or do you have anxious kids in those teachers' classrooms? I'm willing to bet that those employees that you identified as being positively contagious typically have very good classroom management skills, and they've got happy, calm kids. Those teachers, those employees that you identified as not being positively contagious, I'm willing to bet you've got some classroom management issues, and I'm willing to bet that you've probably got frustrated and anxious children. Do y'all see how they go hand in hand? All right, so you being positively contagious, it's not just about maintaining and building and maintaining that positive culture, but it's affecting the classroom too. All right, those of you that attended my workshop on fostering children's self-esteem, we talked about this quite a bit in that workshop. But one thing that we know is that the way adults treat each other has a bigger impact on a child's self-esteem than how the adult treats the child. All right? So let's take that fact that has been scientifically researched and backed and apply it to building and maintaining a positive culture. So the way your teachers treat each other has a bigger impact on the children than the way the teacher treats the child. All right? That's pretty powerful right there. So we're going to talk here in a little bit about connecting and uniting your team. All right? And it really does all go back to how it benefits the kids. All right, but that's good stuff right there. So the point I'm making right here is that part of building and maintaining a positive culture is weeding out the negativity from your team. All right? And we're going to talk about weeding out that negativity as well. Being a positively contagious, effective leader, all right, you've got to be able to confront negative people. When you've got an employee that is the opposite of positively contagious, you have to be strong enough and willing enough to confront that person. Confronting that negativity is going to make you a stronger leader. All right? It's also going to show your team that you've got a zero tolerance for this. All right? So that's important. And to be a positively contagious leader, you've got to lead with passion. All right? Lead with passion. I've mentioned this in a couple of workshops recently, and I keep bringing it up because I want to make sure people get it, all right, that you understand it, all right? But there's something called heart science, and heart science has proven, research has proven, that anytime you have a true feeling in your heart, all right, your body gives off electromagnetic waves. and anyone standing within 6 feet of you can feel what you feel in your heart. All right?
I
So
love that.
that's pretty cool. All right? And I want y'all to think about when you've been around someone that is positively contagious. And just being around that person, do you not get giddy and excited
Yeah.
and kind of, ooh, jumpy? Exactly, because that's the heart science. That's those electromagnetic waves that are coming off of the heart. They also come off of your brain, by the way. But it sounds better when I say heart.
Right.
Now, here's what scares me. What have we been told to do for the last 7 months?
Oh, mask.
We've been told to cover half of our face.
Right.
Oops. Cover half of our face. And we've been told to stay 6 feet away from each other.
It's the worst.
It is, and I completely understand the intent behind this. I completely understand in order to maintain a healthy environment, we need to stay 6 feet away from each other. I get it, but it doesn't mean I like it. All right? But when you're not within 6 feet of someone, they're not going to feel those feelings coming off of your heart. All right? So at least, with the CDC guidelines and with the Health and Human Services guidelines, they say that, you're required to wear a mask when 6 feet of physical distancing is not feasible.
Yeah.
All right? So as long as we are wearing this and we are following our enhanced health practices, we can be within 6 feet of each other. So that you can build that connected and unified team so that the children can still feel those electromagnetic waves coming off of your heart. All right? But then we're covering half of the face, so then that brings up a whole nother challenge.
And this is an important half.
This is a very important half. It's a very important half. Yeah. Tomorrow, when we talk about supporting children with signs and symptoms of a special need, we're going to talk a lot tomorrow about the face and how children communicate with the face. All right? Because the words that come out of our mouth, all right, the tone of voice, the body language, all right, that's one form of communication, but our facial expressions, all right, is something that we really need to focus on. All right, see her face? Her face is saying, I don't like it when you take my toy, or whatever the situation may be. But even with adults, all right, do you see her face? Her face is saying, I don't want to be bothered right now, or whatever it may be. But when half of it is covered up, it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Makes it really hard. All right. Oh, by the way, for those of you that this is your first director's workshop with us virtually and even in person, because of the format and us having to do this virtually, we're not taking any breaks. All right, so we're pushing right through. We're pushing right through. So if you, I want you to make that assumption that you're in the classroom with me, whether we're in a hotel or a classroom like this. But the assumption is that you're actually with me, present. But we're not going to take any breaks. So at any point during the day that you do need to go rush and flush, go take care of yourself, okay? We don't want any accidents during our director's workshop. So if you need to go rush and flush or get some coffee or water, you take care of yourself, all right? And I told you all that at the end of today's workshop, you're going to complete an online worksheet so that you can get your certificate of completion. There's 10 questions on that online worksheet. And I will kind of tell you, as we come across some of the questions. So for example, one of the questions is, who is involved in building your school's culture? That's one of the questions that you're going to see on your worksheet. So who all is involved in building your school's culture? Everyone. So the administrators, the teachers, the parents, and the community. Everyone is involved in building your school's culture. It's going to ask you, what is your school's vision and purpose? So you get to tell me what your vision and purpose is right there. And then how do you plan on sharing this with your staff? All right? Are you planning to do a staff meeting where you just spend 45 minutes talking about your vision, your mission, your purpose, asking employees, what they think about it and how they transfer that belief in their classroom. Or maybe putting together a task force, a committee, all right, where you pull 3 or 4 of your strongest teachers, those teachers that are positively contagious, and you put together a little task force that's going to help you share your culture, all right, share your values, all right. I like that because then you're empowering your team, all right, and that empowerment is really important. And then how are you going to address negativity? All right. One of the quotes that I love to use right here is weed and feed. Weed out the negative and feed the positive. All right. But what is your plan right there? First off, you're going to mentally prepare yourself to be strong enough to confront these people. All right. And pull them into the office and say, hey, we need to talk about your attitude. Your attitude is affecting, all right, the team. Angela, that's in class with me today, we just had to have a difficult conversation with an employee at her school, where it was a great example of this. This is a very long-term, dedicated employee, but for whatever reason, her particular attitude at the time was having a huge impact on the school family.
Yeah.
And it was time just to have we're going to lay it all out on the table and not hold anything back and just put it out there.
Yeah.
All right. And, it was a little bit of an eye-opening experience for this person that she did not realize how negative she was and how it was affecting other people. All right. It's been a big difference since that difficult conversation. All right. But that's the whole thing, and that's what I want you to be ready when you're talking about how do you plan to weed out negativity. A lot of times those people that are being negative don't even realize they're being negative. Because I'm willing to bet, and you might want to write this in your script, all right, your plan that you're going to do when you address these. And I do recommend role playing, all right? Pull another member of management, another administrator in and role play. We're going to have this conversation with this employee, and this is how it's going to go. And role play that person going, I'm not negative. I have a positive attitude. All right? Because I'm willing to bet that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to deny having a negative attitude. All right? Because they don't see it themselves. All right? You're typically the last person to know that you've got this going on. All right? We talked about being optimistic and building and maintaining that positive culture. You've got to have that optimism. Now, the world trains us to be pessimistic. All right? And goodness gracious, look at social media these days. All the stuff, the garbage that goes on, all right? The negativity that we see on social media, even the news, negative, negative, negative. So, the world trains us to be a pessimist. So you've got to work hard at being optimistic. It's not something that just comes naturally and easily because the world is against you, especially these days.
Now.
Especially right now. All right. I don't even, the only reason why I'm still on Facebook is for you people that are watching me right now. All right. If it wasn't for this situation, I would probably have already deleted all my Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff because it's just so negative these days. I challenge y'all, and you Zoom people too. I challenge y'all, okay, to do nothing for 1 week but post positive things on Facebook.
Okay.
To post encouraging comments on Facebook. To share your happy times. To share the wonderful things. Practice gratitude. This is going to be a 7-day social media gratitude challenge. And let's see the difference that we can make right there. All right. Oh, thank you. Erica says thank you. She appreciates me still being on Facebook. All right. There you go. And I want you to ask yourself, what could your team achieve if everyone on your team was positively contagious with hope and belief? All right? What could you accomplish if everyone on your team was positively contagious with hope and belief? So answer that question right there for me. All right? Y'all give me 1 second. I think this is, I got a big old glare on my iPad, and so I'm going to see if that helps with the glare. Nope, it's still there.
Is it the letter?
I think it is. I think it is. Oh, I'm just reading some of the comments that are coming in. All right. Oh, they're saying that's a great challenge. 7 days of practicing gratitude on social media. Go.
You should do that at
All
school.
right. And do it at your school too.
Yeah, have the
Good,
teachers
good
do it.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Do it at your school. But I really, really want you to ask yourself, I mean, what could your team achieve if everyone was positively contagious with hope and belief? Oh, my mind is like going right now. All right? Now, the other thing that I really want y'all to practice, all right, when we're talking about being positively contagious, you know, we hear people say all the time, oh, I had such a bad day. All right? How many of y'all have had a bad day recently? All right?
It is what you make it.
It is what you make it. Here's what I want y'all to start practicing is we don't have bad days. We have bad moments. All right? We don't have bad days. We have bad moments. Okay? When someone says, oh, I had such a horrible day, you can't tell me everything was horrible today. Okay? You had some positive moments. You're just focusing on the negative. All right? We've got to shift our attention from those negative moments to the positive moments and celebrate those positive moments. Okay? Let those positive moments outweigh the negative moments. That's how you're positively contagious. All right? I'll give you a positive moment right here. Okay? You woke up this morning. All right? That's positive. Okay? The opposite of that is you didn't wake up at all and you're dead. All right? So, yeah, there you go. So the simple fact that you woke up this morning, you're in good shape. The simple fact that you woke up this morning, you can get through whatever the day throws at you. All right? And yeah, I see Rosie is saying, you know, we're going to have bad moments. Absolutely. We're human, for goodness sake. We're going to have those bad moments. Don't let a couple of bad moments define your entire day. Okay? Now, you're going to take this and you're going to transfer this belief to your employees. The teachers that are in the classroom. All right? I had such a bad day in the classroom. No, you had bad moments in the classroom. But let's practice some gratitude and let's celebrate the positive moments that you had in that classroom. Y'all hear me talk about Life is Good quite a bit. The Life is Good company that they sell t-shirts, you know, and hats and cups and, you know, oh, you're wearing one right now? Yeah. We love Life is Good in our organization. I can't even tell you how much money I've spent on Life is Good. And my goal is to open a Life is Good store. I'm working on that. But anyways, if you ever get the opportunity, I thought I had one right here, but I don't. If you ever get the opportunity to read the book, Life is Good, all right? And it's Bert and John Jacobs. They're the founders of the Life is Good company. But it's their story about how they came up with the idea of this company that focuses on optimism and belief. And the whole company is built around optimism and belief. And they're worth like $1 bajillion now. They started off selling t-shirts in the back of a van in Boston, and now, you know, it's huge, all right? But if you get the opportunity to read the book, one of my favorite parts of that book is that it talks about when Bert and John were in school, when they were kids, when they would come home, their mom would have dinner waiting for them at the dinner table, and when they would sit down to eat dinner, mom would always ask them, tell me the positive things that happened at school today. All right? Before you start complaining, before you start whining, she always would have them talk about the positive things that happened at school, or the positive things that happened after school, or whatever, before they went into the drama. And I love that part of the book, all right? It's pretty powerful right there. Oh, I was just going to read. Sorry, Facebook people, I'm like the old person that has to lean into the iPad, especially when it's sitting that far right there. But when we talk about, you don't have a bad day, you have bad moments. All right, and I love that part of the Life is Good, where you focus on the positive, and you start by practicing gratitude right there. If those of you that are taking notes, this is a note-taking opportunity for you. I really want to make sure that y'all got this down right here. A negative manager can sabotage your entire team. A negative manager can sabotage your entire team. Now, for many of us, you're not the only leader. You're not the only manager in your school. You probably got director, assistant director. In our world, we have director of administration, director of education. All right. So typically, we're working with multiple different managers. What happens when you've got, let's say, for example, you've got 3 leaders in your school, 3 managers. What happens when you've got 2 managers that are positively contagious and 1 that's not? And that 1 negative manager, how does that impact your entire culture? It's, one single manager can sabotage your entire team. Another one of my favorite books that I love to share with y'all is another John Gordon book, and it's the No Complaining Rule.
Yeah.
All right? And the No Complaining Rule is basically you posting a sign in your office that says, no complaining is allowed in this office. No complaining, only solutions. So if you've got a concern, all right, you're going to come into this office with possible solutions instead of mindless complaining. All right? But post that no complaining rule right there. What we're trying to train when we're transferring this belief is that we're going to focus on the solutions, not the complaints.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
Yes. All right. And actually everything that I'm going over with y'all today comes from a book called You Win in the Locker Room First. And it was a collaboration between Mike Smith and John Gordon that wrote this book, You Win in the Locker Room First. And so a lot of what I've got in my notes today was adapted from that particular book. Really, really awesome. I encourage you to check that one out as well. Here's another note-taking opportunity for you. So those of you that are taking notes, I encourage you to write this down. If you're complaining, you're not leading. All right? If you're complaining, you're not leading. All right? If you're leading, you're not complaining. See how that works? All right. Now, we all have our gripes and our concerns, all right? Sometimes we need to get that garbage out. But are you getting that garbage out at the right time in the right place with the right people around you? Okay? But definitely as a leader, you don't want to do your complaining to the people that you are leading. All right? Because when you're complaining, you're not leading. When you're leading, you're not complaining. So take those gripes and those concerns to your spouse, to your attachment figure, to your person, all right, whoever that may be, and that's what we want to focus on. All right. Our next characteristic of building and maintaining a positive culture, you have to be a consistent leader. All right? You have to be a consistent leader. You have to be the same leader on good days, and you have to be a same leader on bad days. When you've got that adversity, when you have those challenges, you've got to be the same leader. All right? But your people need to know what to expect from you. All right? Now, again, we're all human. I think most of us are human. There's a few of you I'm not quite sure about. No, I'm just kidding. But are we going to wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Of course we are. Of course we are. Are we going to have bad moments that start off our day? Of course we are. You know, I woke up this morning to come here and my Jeep wouldn't start. Ran fine last night. You know, I drove home last night, but this morning wouldn't start. That's how my day started right there. So, you know, I had the choice. All right, my car not starting this morning for whatever reason. Could I let that define my entire day?
You could.
I could. Or stop, take a deep breath, and relax, and say, I can handle this. All right? This is what Uber is for.
Right.
Call an Uber, call someone to come get you, get to work, do what needs to be done. I'll deal with the car later.
There you go.
Seriously, it's the least of my concerns. All right? But don't let that bad moment first thing in the morning define your entire day. All right? But the point being is that you've got to be a consistent leader. Now, this takes a lot of practice. This takes a whole lot of practice right here. Oh yeah, so Amy's saying, yeah, one of her buses broke down at the school. So yeah, first thing in the morning, you know? So again, don't let that define your entire day. Not only do you want to be a consistent leader on good days and bad days, but you've got to be consistent with your actions too. All right? I don't know how many of y'all participated in the Texas Workforce Commission. They're doing these lunch and learns a couple of times a month. They had one yesterday and I hopped on. It was the first one that I've hopped on in this series. But it was ironic that one of the attorneys that works for Texas Workforce Commission was actually talking about this, about how important it is from an employment law standpoint that you are a consistent manager. And he had a whole presentation on being a consistent manager.
I can see that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to enforcing your policies and your procedures and the way you handle disciplinary action. All right, so if you have an employee that is not meeting your expectations and they violate a policy, you've got to be consistent with the way you handle that. You can't cherry pick and treat your favorites one way and the ones that you don't like another way. Or let me make it applicable to this training. You can't get the ones that are positively contagious that make a mistake and handle them one way, and the ones that are not positively contagious and treat them different. When it comes to performance and policies, you've got to be consistent. All right? Now, I want y'all to think for a moment. Think back to your previous employment situations, and how many of you have ever worked for someone that was very inconsistent? Yeah, hands are flying up everywhere. Yep. You know, that wishy-washy manager that you never knew from one day to the next what their expectations were going to be. You never knew from one day to the next how they were going to handle situations. You didn't know from one day to the next if you were going to be a favorite or not. You know, but how many of you have worked for that manager and you don't work for them anymore? And there's probably a reason why you don't work for them anymore. All right? How many of you have ever worked for someone that was consistent and did have tough love and held you accountable and was, you know, and handled every person equally? All right? Yes. How many of you have worked for that person? Good. You know, so And you probably wouldn't be where you're at today if it wasn't for that manager. Because of their tough love, because of their accountability, because they held you to the standards, they held you to the expectation, you have rised into the leader that you are today. Because of that person. You get to do the same thing with your team. When you're building and maintaining a positive culture and you're a consistent manager, all right, your job is to see the best in every one of your employees. And your job is to bring out what they don't see in themselves.
I need to work on that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, and you're conscious of it.
Yeah.
A participant in class is saying that, you know, I need to work on that. Well, step number one is that you're conscious and you're aware. All right? So that's all it takes right there. We've talked about this so much over the last couple of months. But being a consistent manager, you have to be willing and able to address complacency. All right? We don't want to become complacent, especially right now with our health practices. All right? So yes. Oh, someone had a new infant join us, and they cried all day yesterday. So breathe, you can handle this. Yeah, you can be there for that child. Is that a bad moment, or is that an opportunity?
Opportunity.
That's a great opportunity to be there for that child and to connect with that child and to help that child. But it can be very frustrating too, and it can make you very anxious, especially when you don't know why they're crying. Sure, absolutely. Don't let your employees become complacent right now. Okay? We have done an amazing job at maintaining a healthy environment for our children and our staff. And yes, have we had positive COVID cases in licensed childcare programs in Texas? Sure we have. All right? But when you look at the numbers, it's still an extremely low percentage. We have done an amazing job. Let's keep it that way. We're entering cold and flu season now. All right? So focusing on those enhanced health practices is going to be even more important because we're about to get a double whammy. All right? We got the COVID and we got the flu. So, yes. All right. Focus on continuous and consistent improvements. All right? You being a positive leader and building and maintaining a positive culture, your goal should always be, today is going to be better than yesterday. Today is going to be better than yesterday.
Every day is a new day.
And every day is a new day. And even if yesterday was the best day ever, okay, we're going to make today even better.
Right.
All right? Tomorrow's going to be even better. But that continuous and constant improvement. Last week, I did a workshop on the professional development chapter of minimum standards. Several of y'all participated in that one. But you know, we talked in that particular session that it's not about getting your hours, okay? It's about that continuous and constant improvement. All right? That every teacher, every director needs to be humble and hungry. All right? To learn more, to make their school better. All right? Not about getting your hours. All right? And then the next thing is just be humble and hungry. Always wanting more. All right? Always wanting to be better right there. I want y'all to ask this question. Now, this is a tough question, and I need y'all to be honest. So, does your team know what you expect from them? Does your team know what you are expecting of them? Are they fully aware of your expectations? Or is it a common norm? All right? Do we just assume they know because you gave them a copy of the job description upon hire? All right? So, you know, ask that question. Do my people actually know what the expectations are? And then I want y'all to come up with a plan to address that. Okay? How am I going to better communicate my expectations? All right? Are we going to make a chart, you know, a spreadsheet or a checklist? Am I going to give them better resources? All right? More communication. But your team, in order to be consistent, your team has to know what is expected of them. Building and maintaining a positive culture, the expectations are clearly defined. And it's not just your employees. I'm going to take this in a different direction now. Do your customers know what your expectations are? Do your parents know what you expect of them? Or did you just give them the parent handbook and say, here? All right? So ask that question right there as well. Because remember, your parents, your customers are part of your culture. The last thing I want to say about, you know, being consistent, and we said that, you know, you've got to be the same manager every day. All right? Good days and bad days, you've got to be that same manager. Remember from our previous trainings, we've talked about this in a lot of different trainings, that when you get triggered, you're always the last person to know. Everybody around you knows when you have been triggered except for yourself. All right? So when we're talking about consistency, you need to be aware of when you are triggered. All right? Now, the activity that we've talked about in previous workshops is write down your triggers. Okay, make yourself a list. Behaviors that employees have that you know is a trigger for you. Behaviors of your customers that is a trigger for you. Now, you're going to keep this to yourself. You're not going to go posting it on your office wall. All right, beware, these are my triggers. All right, no, you're going to keep those to yourself. But being consistent also means knowing your triggers. All right? One of the questions that you're going to see on your worksheet that you do at the end of the training today is, how do you plan to battle complacency? All right? First off, just being aware of it. Being aware of those employees who are no longer hungry and humble. Okay? Being aware of that. And then you're going to address that, and you're going to make them humble and hungry. All right? Your desire is measured by your routine and your preparation. All right? So when we talk about being a consistent leader, I want you to look at your routine and your preparation. Earlier, we talked about predictability. Not only do children need predictability, but your team that you're leading also must have predictability. And the way we're going to define that predictability is by your routine and your preparation. All right? You know, we talked about strategic planning earlier. Do you have a plan? So when you do have significant events, when you do have difficult situations, do you have a plan? Or are you constantly flying by the seat of your pants? You know, you cannot be an effective and positive leader when you're flying by the seat of your pants. Okay, so come up with some plans right there. All right, next characteristic of being a positive leader and building and maintaining positive culture is communication. Communicate, communicate, communicate. All right, communicate frequently, collectively, and individually. When you have an employee that's not meeting your expectations, you need to address them individually, all right, rather than as a whole group. Communicate frequently, and that might mean that you ask people, you ask your parents, how would you like for me to communicate with you? All right, there you go. Now, I say this in so many of my leadership trainings. So many of my leadership trainings I say this, but those of you that are taking notes, here is another note-taking opportunity for you. Where there is a void in communication, negativity will fill it. So in the absence of communication, negativity will fill the void. All right? If you don't communicate with your people, they will fill in the gaps with negativity. If you don't communicate with your parents, they're going to fill in the gaps, fill in the blanks with negativity. So one of the worksheet questions that you'll see after today's workshop is, how do you plan to weed out negativity? All right, part of your plan might be better communication. All right, better communication with my team. That right there is going to eliminate a lot of your negativity. Right now, we've talked about the pandemic and being connected with your families, being connected with the community. Again, communication is the key here. If you're not out there weekly communicating with your families and the community about how you're maintaining a healthy environment, if you're not out there communicating this, then they're going to make assumptions that you're not maintaining a healthy environment. All right? So, one thing that we've been doing in our programs is that we've been posting a lot of videos on social media of the teachers doing circle time, the teachers doing a routine in the classroom, the teachers doing a project in the classroom. And that's been very, very helpful during this pandemic and very helpful to stay connected with the families. But the next thing I challenge you to do, if you haven't already done so, record your teachers their health practices. So have your teachers demonstrate what you're doing in the classroom to teach the children how to properly wash their hands. All right? Your disinfecting buckets. All right? What does the process look like when a child is playing with a toy and they're done with it? The child puts it in the disinfecting bucket. All right? You set it aside. There's something else for the child to play with until you have that toy sanitized. But make a video of this. All right? And post it so that your families and the community will see. They've got to be able to see, all right, how you're maintaining a healthy environment. But that is the constant communication that we're looking for. All right? The people need to see it right there. Otherwise, if you don't do this, the assumption is going to be that you're not maintaining a healthy environment. All right? Communicating is not just you speaking. Okay? A huge part of communication is you listening. Do you listen to your staff? When they come to you with a not a complaint, but possible solutions, all right? Are you listening to them? Are you open-minded? I've always said this, some of the best things that we've done in our schools were not my ideas. Some of the best successes that we've had in our schools were the employees that have come and said, hey, Mr. Tim, what do you think about this? It's a pretty good idea. Let's talk about it. Tell me more. All right? And some of the greatest accomplishments we've had were not my idea. It was theirs. So listen to your people, especially right now. Because as the leader and as the manager of your program, you're probably in survival mode. All right? I'm just trying to figure out how to keep us afloat. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to make payroll this week. All right? How am I going to pay the bills? All right? You're not thinking about quality improvement. You're not thinking about some of the things that go on in the classroom because you're just thinking about management and survival mode. So the ability to listen to your staff is even more important now than ever before. All right? A big part of being positively contagious and being an effective leader is your ability to take the temperature of your school and your staff daily. All right? And y'all know, sometimes you walk into your facility. I walked into Angela's school yesterday, and it just felt good. I walked around the building. I said hello to everybody. Everyone was happy. Everyone was in a good mood. The energy felt good. I mean, you just wanted to stand there in the lobby and smile. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience, And y'all feel that every single day. But how many of you have walked into your school, like I remember back when I was a director at her school, several years ago, probably about 8 years ago. I remember walking in one day, I was closing that day, so I came in around 9:30. And the moment I walked in the front door, I was like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
How many of you have ever walked in your facility and like, boom, you're like, something's off.
Yeah.
Something's going on here. What's going on? And then the assistant director is like, well, we got a gossiping issue. And toddler teacher has been gossiping all morning about blah, 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 blah. You know? And I felt it. The moment I walked in the door,
Yeah.
I felt that change. All right? Well, let me get all my paperwork done and get my billing done, and then I'll go address toddler teacher. No. You need to go address that person right off the bat.
Yep.
All right? But you have to have that ability to take that temperature of your school and your staff every single day. All right? And then immediately start the communication process. And how many of y'all have had employees that have come to work, and the moment they walk in the door, you're like, something's off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right? Something's going on with this person. All right? Do you allow that person to just scuttle back to the classroom?
No.
Or do you stop and say, hey, your face is saying something's going on today. What's up?
Yeah.
You know, well, my car wouldn't start this morning and I had a fight with the spouse or whatever.
Yeah.
All right? But you got to be able to take that temperature. All right? Oh, Stephanie. Again, if I gave out gold stars, you'd get a gold star, but I don't give out gold stars. So, if we can feel it, then you know that the children and the parents feel it too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right? So you've got to be able to take that temperature and be willing and able to address it, okay, when you need it. Communicate, annoy them with important messages, so constantly communicate out there. Make sure, we talked about having multiple managers. Make sure that every manager is sharing the same message. All right? We used to have this problem in my organization. Well, everyone has this problem, okay? But we went through a period of time where it was really bad, where, you know, the employees would play the mom and dad game. And so, you know, they would come to me and ask me a question, and if they didn't like the answer, then they would go to the other owner, and then if they didn't like that answer, then they would go to the director, and if they didn't like that answer, then they'd go to the assistant director, and they just went down the road, you know, until someone gave them the answer they wanted. And then they were able to come back and say, well, Angela told me. Well, you know, but how many of y'all have had that, where they've just gone through the cycle until they got the answer they wanted?
Or they go to me, and then they go to the director,
Yeah.
and then they go to the owner, and it's, yeah.
Yes. So you've got to make sure that all of your leaders are sharing the same message and on the same page. Now, I'll tell you, the way we handled this situation when we were having this problem is that we made sure that every single member of management had very clearly defined roles. And not only did each manager know what their role was and what their responsibilities, but it was communicated to the whole staff. All right? If you've got a question about payroll, you go to Tim. If you've got a question about curriculum, you go to Angela. If you've got a question about facilities, you know, or whatever. That way, you know, we were sharing the same message. Now, that took a lot of strength from us too, because if someone came to me and said, hey, Mr. Tim, I got a question about the curriculum, I have to be strong enough to say, look, I'd be happy to help you with this, but you need to go to Angela. All right? So that the same message is being delivered. All right? And it's not that we're trying to pass the buck. All right? We want to make sure everyone is getting clear communication. That's what we're doing right here. All right? I've already told you this. The enemy to maintaining positive culture, the enemy to leadership is busyness and stress. Busyness and stress, all right, will destroy your program. So you need to come up with a plan on how you're going to avoid busyness and stress. All right? Well, clearly defined roles. All right? That preparation, routine and preparation is going to help you with the busyness. So do you have a routine? Do you have predictability? Now, stress, practice gratitude. All right? It is impossible to be stressed and blessed at the same time.
Yes.
So when you practice gratitude, you can't be stressed. All right? And have a zero tolerance for stress. Okay? Have a zero tolerance for stress. And one thing we know about the brain, all right? Those that you put in charge of your feelings, you put in charge of you. Those that you put in charge of your feelings, you put in charge of you. So if you allow someone to stress you out, then whoever it is that you have allowed to stress you out, you just put them in charge of your feelings. So you have to be strong enough to say, hey, I'm not going to let you stress me out today. I'm not going to let you frustrate me today. All right? I'm not going to let you make me angry today. I'm in charge of my feelings. When you stay in control of your feelings, you're less likely to be stressed. All right? And we got a lot of stressors right now. Yeah. Tana says, you know, we got a lot of stressors right now. There's a lot of challenges and adversity out there. All right? But, you know, I'm not going to let this stress me out. I'm in control. Now, this again takes a lot of practice. I just had a situation, today's Friday, Wednesday night, I had a situation where the opportunity for me to give my power away was there. And someone said something that, you know, made me upset. And there for a brief moment, I was upset. And I had to coach myself for about 15 minutes. I'm not going to let this comment frustrate me. I'm not going to let this moment ruin my entire day. But I'll be the first to admit, it took me about 15 minutes of internal coaching for me to say, these were just words, all right, and I'm not going to allow this to frustrate me. Because I knew if I allowed this person in their comment to take control of my feelings, then I just put them in charge of me. All right? So Stephanie is saying we can't control the things that happen on the outside, but we can control how they make us feel on the inside. Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Communication fosters collaboration. All right. Communication fosters collaboration. Communication builds trust. Commitments foster teamwork. Teamwork delivers results. Without good communication, you don't have trust. All right, so it all goes hand in hand. I'm going to say that one more time because that's really good. Communication builds trust. Commitment fosters teamwork. Teamwork delivers results. But without good communication, you can't have trust. All right? Trust is not something that's immediately given. Trust is something that is earned. All right? I asked this question in a workshop a couple of weeks ago. Some of you might remember this. But as a leader, would you rather be liked or respected?
Respected.
Respected. All right, now that kind of goes back to that consistent leader. All right, that consistent leader. This might be hard for some of you to hear. I'm just going to say it. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off, okay? You cannot be a great leader sitting in your office. You cannot be an effective leader sitting in your office.
True.
And you cannot properly communicate with your people sitting in your office. Okay, especially in our early education after school industry. You need to get out there. All right, get into those classrooms. Have those conversations with those parents. You need to be present. All right, but you can't do it sitting behind a desk. Get into their environment. Get into their environment. We're going to talk about outside voices here in just a little bit. There you go. Everyone doing okay?
Yep.
Yep. All right.
Yep.
Very good. Amen. Totally agree. All right. I got a comment right there. Good job. Next characteristic of building and maintaining and a positive culture. You have to connect.
Yep.
You have to be connected to your people. All right. Connection is one of the most important things that you can do. We'll talk about this tomorrow in our teacher workshop, all right, when we're talking about supporting children with signs and symptoms of a special need, all right? When you are connected to someone, they are more willing to meet your expectations. When you are in a relationship with someone, they are more willing to meet your expectations. When there's not a connection, the brain is wired to be insubordinate. Okay, the brain is wired to push back. All right? Culture and relationships bring success. You can have the most talented teacher, out there. Y'all know that teacher that can walk into any classroom at any point in time and boom, they get control. You can have that incredibly talented teacher, but if there's no relationship and there's no connection and there's no culture, talent is overrated. All right? It's all about connecting in meaningful ways. Here's the deal, and the generation that we're working with these days especially, you need to make sure that your staff is sharing their successes. Make sure your staff is sharing their feelings, their struggles, all right? People want to know that we're all in this together, all right? Sharing their stories and their feelings is going to make people unified. It's going to bring them together, all right? But people need to know that we're all in this together. That was a big focus of our conference last week, is that we're all in this together right there. And if y'all were in one of my leadership trainings 10 years ago, I told you the complete opposite of this right here. You've got to connect with your people personally. All right? Now, 10 years ago, I probably told you, do not get involved in their personal business. Stay far, far away from their personal business. But nowadays, different. Especially with the generation that we're working with. They want you to be involved in their personal life. Y'all remember last year, those of you that came to my workshops last year, we made the joke, little did we know how true this was going to be, that in order to be a successful director, you needed your life coach certification. Yeah. Man, is that true right now? Because how many of y'all have been a practicing life coach for the last 7 months? Yeah. Not just to your employees, but your families too. All right? But that's getting connected on a personal level. All right? So true right there. And the thing that you need to know about connections is that you never stop building connections. You never stop building connections. All right? You're always doing that. Communication, going back to communication, communication begins the process of building trust. All right? Collaboration fosters this process and enhances relationships. So when you're building and maintaining a positive culture, that collaboration piece is really important. And like I mentioned earlier, if you want to start with a small committee, all right, so whatever your goal is, we're going to increase quality. We're going to start practicing conscious discipline. put together a small group that's going to lead this task force right there. Here's the thing when we talk about connections. And again, over the last 7 months, this is so incredibly true. People normally have friends and family that are telling them to do more or telling them to do less. All right? The message that is received from these individuals can be very cloudy, and it could disrupt your team. All right? It's creating a me instead of a we. But we got a lot of outside voices that's constantly telling us what we should and should not be doing. Your employees, when they go home at night, you can create this amazing culture with clearly defined expectations, and you're connected with your people. But when they go home at 5 o'clock and they have outside voices that start telling them they should be doing more, they should be doing less, those outside voices are creating the me. All right? You need to be aware of this. All right? Because how many times have we had an employee that you thought was 100% on board with your mission, your values, your belief? And how many of you have had an employee that's come into your office and the conversation started like this? I was talking to my family last night, and my dad said that I should blah, 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 blah. And that person that you thought that was 100% on board, they allowed their outside voice to disconnect them. All right? Your culture has to be stronger than those outside voices. All right? You're going to start by being aware of them. By being aware of them. Okay? Connect with your people in meaningful ways. All right? It's not about just, oh, I need to go spend quality time because Tim said I needed to. No, it needs to be meaningful right there. Unplug from technology. And I know right now we are relying on technology so much. We're doing this workshop through not one but 2 avenues of technology and in person.
Yes.
But, you know, we're relying on so much technology right now for our everyday work. Our children are going to school virtually. Crazy. When we're building and maintaining a positive culture, you need to disconnect from that technology. Disconnect from the text messages, disconnect from the emails, and spend meaningful time with them. All right? Now, again, that's been hard because for the last 7 months, we've been told, stay 6 feet away. All right? Cover half of your face and stay 6 feet away. Is that affecting our ability to connect?
100%.
Absolutely. So you've got to be very creative. And we got to really think outside of the box on this one. And when this whole pandemic first started to explode and affect our daily lives, this was one of my big concerns, that how are we going to continue to stay connected with our families? Even right now, and we're still, October 2nd, 2020 is when this is being recorded, we're still under emergency orders from Health and Human Services that families can't come into our program unless absolutely necessary. So we're dropping children off and picking children up at the front door. Okay, I still have concerns about how we're staying connected. Now, the manager that's doing the running, all right, that manager is able to stay connected because they're greeting that parent at the front door. But how are your teachers maintaining that connection with those families? So that's where, unfortunately, we're having to rely on technology. Or phone calls. We're getting ready in my organizations. We're getting ready for parent-teacher conferences. So our parent-teacher conferences are going to be phone calls and Zooms. So at least, again, we're
connecting. On a
It's
different
connecting.
level.
And it's like, yeah, of course we want to talk about expectations and developmental milestones and assessments. What I'm telling my team is the whole purpose behind parent-teacher conferences this year is connect, connect, connect. Okay? I don't want the whole conference to be about assessments and milestones and expectations. For me right now, it's all about the connections. All right? But, you know, we're having to do that. All right. Since we work so much with each other, we tend to make an assumption that we know each other. All right? Don't ever make that assumption that you know somebody. All right? And you know, we've worked together, what, almost 9 years now?
Yeah.
I think I know her pretty well, but you know what? Things change in people's lives. And something that's gone on personally, I may not know her as well as I thought I did. So we probably need to spend some time and reconnect. So, you know, building and maintaining that positive culture is not making that assumption that you know someone, because things change in people's lives.
Continue to connect.
Continue. And that leads to my next characteristic of building and maintaining a positive culture, and that's to commit. All right, commit. First off, with commitment, your staff must know that you are committed to your school. All right? They have to know that you are committed before they will commit. But if the leader of the organization is not committed, your staff won't commit. All right? So you have got to be in it to win it first. You got to be in it to win it first. And your commitment has to be greater than anyone else in the school. All right? Your commitment has to be so strong that people can feel that commitment. Now remember earlier I told you that heart science, anyone that is standing within 6 to 10 feet of you, all right, can feel that true feeling in your heart. Commitment is going to come from your heart. All right? That's how they're going to feel it right there. And you're going to demonstrate your commitment through your actions. All right? Demonstrate your commitment through your actions. We're not going to just talk about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to put this, you know, just put it down on paper. We're going to actually follow through with this plan.
Actions speak louder than words.
Actions speak louder than words. All right? It's just like, you know, when we were talking about strategic planning earlier. All right? A strategic plan is only as effective as its implementation. You can plan all day long, but if you don't implement it, it's not going to do you any good. All right? So you've got to demonstrate that commitment. Okay? Make time for your staff. Make time for them. I love this quote. This is one of my all-time favorite quotes. And for some people, this is really hard to understand, but you don't have to be great to serve, but you do have to serve to be great. You got to be able to give back. All right? And everything that you give back will come back to you, okay, threefold. All right? So serving is an important part of leadership. Okay? And lose your ego and take ownership of problems. A committed leader owns their issues. When you fail, and you will fail forward. Okay? Say, you know what? I messed up. And this is what I've learned from it. All right? I want to take now the commit and the connect. And how many of y'all are familiar with Gary Chapman's 5 Languages of Love? Yeah. Several of you have read the book or you've done the workshops, out there. I did a whole workshop, I guess it's been about 6 or 7 years ago. I did a whole workshop on the 5 languages of love. I did it for both leaders and I did it for classroom teachers, but it was really, really good. I want to do it again, actually. But when you're connecting and committing to your staff, you need to be aware of their love language. All right? And I will tell you that when we did this with our staff, it made the biggest difference in the world. Because we were going through a period where we were showing our appreciation to the staff in what we thought were meaningful ways. But how many of you have given back and given back and given back, and then it just feels like it's expected instead of appreciated? And that can be very discouraging as a leader.
Yeah.
So, we were kind of running into this where, we had all of these processes and programs in place where we were giving back to the staff and showing our appreciation, and it just wasn't being effective anymore. So, one thing we did as a leadership team is we started practicing the 5 languages of love. And we started realizing that, the reason why some of our programs were no longer being effective is that because we weren't reaching each individual person's love language. And we weren't showing each individual person appreciation based on what's important to them. All right? So connecting and committing means knowing their love language. Do they want quality time? All right? 5 minutes of one-on-one time each day with each person will reduce power struggles by 50%. 5 simple minutes with each employee each day. Half of your problems are gone. All right? Quality time. And I know that I'm a quality time person. I actually, I have a tie. I have 2 love languages. All right? Quality time is one. I love just spending time with people in meaningful ways.
Yes.
All right? Words of affirmation. And it was so shocking to me, actually not shocking at all. When I did this training a couple of years ago, and I went all around the state of Texas and had thousands of y'all do the love language test, how many of us early educators, words of affirmation is our love language? I don't know, I really have been analyzing this. Is it because we work in an industry that has just been beat down for the last 30 years, that we've been made to feel not important over the last 30 years? So the words of affirmation mean a lot to us, all right? And how many of y'all, let's be honest, this year during the pandemic, when early education and after-school programs were finally getting some good recognition, people are finally going, oh, they are important.
We're essential.
We're essential. Oh, we can't do our jobs without them. Our kids can't learn without them. How many of y'all have taken on virtual learners? I never thought that would be in our career path, but we're doing it. People are finally going, oh, yeah, childcare and after-school program is important. And I hate it that it took the pandemic for everyone to realize this. But does the affirmation feel good? It does, And those of us that are words of affirmation people, we're just swimming in it right now. Whoa, it feels so good. All right? So words of affirmation. And how many of y'all have that teacher that, if you get there in the morning and you walk around your building, hello, good morning, and you say good morning and hello to everyone but one person. And how many of y'all have that one teacher that comes up, you didn't say good morning to me. Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Why didn't you say good morning to me? You said hello to everyone but me. But how many of y'all have had that person? So, that affirmation is important. Now, with every love language, you also have a turnoff. All right? You have one action that you don't like. And it's important for you to know what your love language is and what your turnoff is, because we tend to want to lead based on our love language.
Right.
All right, so I'm really good at quality time and I'm really good at affirmation because those are my love languages. All right, I don't like acts of service. All right, I am not an acts of service person. You know, oh Tim, you've got so much on your plate. Let me take something off your plate. Leave my plate alone. All right, get away from my plate. I've got a very big plate and I can handle everything on it. If not, I wouldn't put it on my plate. You know, well, I just wanted to help you. I don't need your help. And I know that, you know, I'm trying to let go of some of that. I have been delegating a lot more here lately. All right, but I know that acts of service is not my language. But what if it's hers? And, you know, this teacher, acts of service is her love language. That's going to be very uncomfortable for me. It's going to be very hard for me to deliver that love language that I know I don't like. So that's why it's important to know what your love language is and what your turnoff is, because you're going to have to really step out of your comfort zone so that you can meet each individual employee's love language. It's going to be a learning opportunity for you too. You know, gifts. Gifts is another love language. Now again, I'm not a big gift person. All right, don't buy me anything. I don't need it. If I need it, I'll go to Target and get it myself. Or nowadays, I'll go on to Amazon.
Right.
And I'll just get it. I'll order it myself. It'll be here tomorrow. But I'm not a big gift person. But again, what if she is? Okay, you know, and of course, the last love language is physical touch. Well, we haven't been able to do that here lately. So those of you that physical touch is your love language, you're probably really having a difficult time right now.
Yes.
Those of you that physical touch is a turnoff, you're probably loving this world we live in right now. All right. But if you're not familiar with the 5 languages of love, I'll go over them again. Quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch. And if y'all need the love language quiz, and there's a little quiz that you can take to tell you what your love language is, just shoot me an email and I can send it to you. I've got it from whenever I did the training. Or go buy Gary Chapman's books. There's like 17 of them now. Love languages for teenagers, love languages for kids, love languages for your spouse. There's even using the 5 languages of love in leadership. Okay, and I recommend that one actually. All right, go check that out. The next characteristic of an effective leader is caring. Now this is going to go back to what I talked about earlier, that the way your employees treat each other has a bigger impact on the self-esteem of the children than how the employees treat the child. So when you develop a culture of caring, all right, where your employees actually care for one another, you're going to see a big difference, okay, in your positive culture. When you care for your staff, they perform at a higher level. Okay, so as a leader, you've got to care for them. As a leader, you have to love your employees unconditionally. Okay, now, in conscious discipline, we practice that when a child makes a mistake, okay, oops, you made a mistake, all right, but I still love you. In conscious discipline, we practice that children need to know that they are still loved when they make a mistake, and that mistakes are opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. It's no different for your employees. All right? When they make a mistake, they need to know that you still care for them. When they make a mistake, they need to be able to see the opportunity for growth. All right? The opportunity to learn. You do this by valuing each person. You also show that you care through tough love. All right? Tough love is hard. It's very hard. All right? But that's how we learn and we grow. Like I mentioned earlier, these days with this generation, they need to know that you have a personal interest in them. Okay? That you have a personal interest in them. When you hire people, when you build your team with a team that cares. A team that cares about one another. But one of the most important things that I want to share with you right now, it is very important in your business that you create a caring trademark. I want y'all to look at commercials that are on TV right now, and even if you're doing Hulu and Netflix and Amazon or whatever, the commercials that you see on social media, all right, whatever, you're going to see so many businesses right now that their entire advertising budget is spent on their caring trademark and how this business is giving back to the community. All right? So what is your school's caring trademark? How are you giving back to the community? And this is ginormous right now. All right? So if you don't have a caring trademark, if you're not giving back, then you need to come up with a plan on how you're going to do this. And that's actually one of your test questions right here is, what is your caring trademark? So discover it and share it. All right? Discover it and share it. But that makes a big difference for us. All right? Relationships are based on value, on respect, love, trust, and care. All right? And that we're going to take that back to the connection. Transformational leaders see the best in others. And again, we've talked about this in so many of our recent workshops, but I want y'all to think about a leader that believed in you at some point in time in your career. I want you to define or recognize that person that believed in you. All right? Every single one of us, we would not be where we're at today if someone didn't believe in us. So I want y'all to think about who that is. All right? And then when you're looking at your current staff, you could be that one person that sets that person up for success. Give them a chance. Okay, give them a chance. Look, I might get emotional right now. I just saw on the Facebook, see there are some good things about Facebook, but way back like 30 years ago, yeah, it was 1989, so almost 31 years ago, I worked for a very, very large child care organization that was a nationwide, I'll just say it, Children's World. I worked for children, they're not around anymore, so. But I worked at Children's World, and I had a very, very difficult time getting a job in child care and after school programs because I was a guy. And being a young guy at that, back in the late 80s. And I got hired on at Children's World, and one district manager believed in me and saw something inside of me and gave me the opportunity to be an assistant director. And I remember other people going, what is she thinking? But she gave me a chance. And she then went on to open her own school and blah, 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 blah. She just sold her school and has officially retired, after I think it was 35 years of working in early education. And so I had just posted on Facebook, thank you for believing in me, 30 years ago, that I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't for that lady. One person that gave me a chance. Because so many people did not give me a chance. You could be that person for the employees that are in your program right now. All it takes is one person to believe in them. All right? Invest in the root if you want to get the fruit.
Like that.
All right, you got to invest in the root. You got to have a rich soil in order to grow that wonderful piece of fruit. If you got a rocky, sandy, gritty soil, that drama, that gossiping, all that stuff we talked about at the beginning, you're not going to get a good piece of fruit. So you've got to invest in the root, invest in the soil. Your soil is your culture. All right? In conscious discipline, we call it our school family. All right, there we go. So, in conclusion, we're getting close to the end of our presentation today. We got through this kind of quick, all right? But in conclusion, you have to coach the people that you lead, all right? You must coach the people that you lead, not you most. You must coach the people that you lead, all right? Leadership is about coaching. You're their coach, all right? Develop more leaders. One of the best pieces of advice that one of my mentors gave me in my career: surround yourself with people that are better than you. You always surround yourself with people that are better than you. That's what you're going to do when you're building and maintaining a positive culture, is that you're going to surround yourself with early educators that are better than you. So many times people are like, oh, well, I can't make her better than me. She might take my job. If you're afraid that someone's going to take your job, we got a bigger issue
Right.
here.
That's on you.
All right? Another thing that same mentor taught me is that you should always have someone trained to take your job tomorrow. All right? We could walk out of this building this afternoon and get hit by a car. Who's going to take on your role and your responsibilities tomorrow? Hopefully that's not going to happen. I did not want to throw that out into the universe, but, you know, at some point, though, we're all going to walk away from this. At some point, we will. Do you have the next person in place? All right? Ask people to share their visions and goals, and ask them how you can help achieve them. All right? What can I do for you? How can I help you? What do you need to be successful? All right? And you need to be constantly asking these questions. How can I assist you? Okay? I'm here for you. And your people need to know that you're available for them. You cannot build a winning team without character. All right? So define character. All right? In every single one of us, we have different characteristics. We all bring something different to the table. You need to be able to recognize that within your culture, within your school family. What does each individual person bring to the table? All right? Build it with character and talent. All right? Now again, if your culture isn't well defined and lived, if you don't have a connected and caring team, talent is worthless. When you do have a connected, committed, caring team, and then you combine that with talent, the sky's the limit. All right? And then continue to develop that character within your team. Continue to develop that. All right? Remember that passion involves belief. So we talked at the beginning of today about our integrity and how much our integrity has been challenged over the last 7 months. All right? Your passion and your belief is what's going to keep that integrity in place. All right? So, yes. Okay, so any questions or comments from anyone on Zoom or Facebook Live or in class? Was information today helpful?
Yes.
Yes. Someone share with me a most valuable piece of information. What is the most valuable piece of information that you wrote down today or you heard today? Yes, Stephanie says over here on Zoom. I love it. Someone share with me the most valuable piece of information that you heard today or you wrote down.
Gosh, there were so many.
There was so many. So many I'm hearing in class. I love that. All right.
Adversity is an opportunity to lead.
Adversity is an opportunity to lead. Yes, challenges, obstacles, distractions are opportunities. All right, opportunities to lead. Live and share your culture every single day. You got to live and share that culture. Zero tolerance for stress. All right, for yourself and what you expect for your staff. Make sure your staff know your expectations. Oh, I love this one, Amy. High five. If you're complaining, you're not leading. Love that one. Remember the one person that believed in you. You can be that person for someone else. Yes. Make sure that you're applying the 5 languages of love to your entire team. Margaret says a negative manager can sabotage an entire team. Oh, that is so true right there. All right. Be a leader with integrity and passion. I'm seeing here on Facebook Live. Yes, love it. All right. It's not a bad day. You just had bad moments. Drop the mic on that one. All right. Drop the mic on that one. All right. So, your online worksheets are going to be posted on Facebook here in just a couple of minutes. So give me just about a minute or two, and your online worksheets will be available on Facebook. Those of you that are on Zoom, just hold tight, and I will cut and paste the link for your online worksheets onto Zoom. So that'll take me just a minute as well. All right. And then there's 2 different links. Y'all know how this works. If you're paying for your certificate with a credit card, you're going to click on the link that says online worksheet paying with a credit card. If you're paying for your certificate with an online account number, so you have been given a 5-digit account number from me, then you're going to click on the worksheet that says paying with an online account number. See how simple that is?
Easy.
It's so easy. And then go ahead and complete your worksheet. Make sure you hit submit, and then I will email your certificate of completion to you as soon as possible. So I had a lot of fun today. I don't know about y'all, but I had a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for joining and hopping in. I hope you have a wonderful, amazing rest of your Friday. It sounds like we're going to have a ginormous crowd tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing and working with everyone tomorrow with supporting children with special needs. Such an important topic. Such an important topic. All right, so y'all stay safe, make safe and healthy choices, and I will see all of you very, very soon. Hold tight for your links to do your online worksheets. Bye, everybody.